Go ahead. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. We're here on Saturdays at 10, Pittsburgh Talk Radio 1320 WJAS. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, medical doctor and alternative health practitioner in the Western Pennsylvania area for over 20 years. You know, there's a better way to manage your health, and that's what we'll be discussing here each and every week on the Top Doc Talk station here in Pittsburgh. Now, we're going to take some baby steps for a while. We just kicked off our show. This is our third show, and I promise to ease you on into the seat. I tell you that kick back and enjoy the ride, learn along with us. I think there's a real advantage of starting here where we start looking back over the 20 years of doing these radio shows. I really didn't know what I didn't know at the time, but now beginning with a new group and starting in the first steps of making you become aware of how you can take charge of your health, well, that's what we're doing this entire month of August, and hope you enjoy coming along with us. Now, where to listen to is extremely important. Of course, you can go directly to 1320 on your radio dial, that's AM radio dial, and listen to us as you have been able to do for many, many years. But this show is streamed live while we do the show. And if it turns out to work better for you, I'm all for it. The place to go, a couple places. Number one, go to iHeartRadio.com. And in the search engine, all you have to do is punch in WJAS, hit go, and it'll take you directly to the radio show that we're doing today. And you'll hear it live. It won't be any crackly background. In fact, your AM radio does squawk a bit to you. You can also, by the way, listen to the radio show on your phone. You'll have to go to iHeart and get the radio app for the show, but nonetheless, you can listen on your laptop, you can listen on your phone. There's no reason not to be able to be in contact with what we're doing here in the most economically pleasant way that's possible. Now, we're starting something new today. Well, it's new to you, Pittsburgh, but it's not new to me. If you know what I mean, and you're one of my previous listeners for many years, we had a standard way that we communicated, and that is that now, as of this show in play completely, you can go to my website at www.djcmd, that's Dennis J. Courtney, djcmd.com, and on the opening page, click on the icon there marked Live Show, and it'll take you right to our streamed version. It's a little crazy because it's a video version. You actually get a peek at me as we're doing it. If that's hazardous for you, tone down that visual. But nonetheless, we really enjoyed being back on the air. To all my listeners who for a moment didn't know where to find me. I had listeners of many, many years say, where are you now? So we hustled back. We're back on the plane that we had been for so many years. So you can go to www.djcmd.com. We're streaming the show live there on YouTube. Now, when we've completed the show, you can listen to these shows again a couple of ways. One, go to 1320wjas.com and listen to a podcast on the on-air section of the website. So when the opening page comes up, click on air, and there's a list of all of the hosts here at WJAS, and I'm on the bottom list, a little obscured. You're going to scroll down a bit to the Weekend Wellness Workshop, and the radio station will be housing the shows for one full month after we air them, and they'll sort of rotate the new one in and the old one out, and that's one way you can do it. Of course, another way is the moment I complete the show here at djcmd.com, the show then automatically gets logged into the YouTube portion of what we do. So all you need to do at any time to listen to any show is to go to djcmd.com, click on Archives on the opening page, and it'll take you directly to YouTube where all of my shows reside. There's actually 5 years worth of radio shows there, folks, but all the radio shows I've done here on WJAS are there. So I'm hoping you're enjoying the way to stay in touch with us. We enjoy bringing the strong message to you, and would love to have you as a steady listener here on the Weekend Wellness Workshop. Not going to tell you, up and coming It's a slow month, this month of August. Yes, we're just getting it going and bringing to you some very powerful messages on how to take care and control of your health, moving you to optimal health. And that's been my goal for a long time now. For you to do it, you are going to have to break out of what you're so used to, being managed by your conventional doctor and being put on medicines only when you have a problem. It's not a good way to go, folks. There's a better way of handling this, and it needs to allow you to be proactive to either protect you from ever moving into the unhealthy category, or if you're already there. And one of the ways you can tell that you've arrived is you're on a whole bunch of medicines now. Got a little hint for you. You're in trouble if you're on those medicines, and you need to be rescued, and you can be restored to a previous level of functioning, and that's what we're going to be doing here on the Weekend Wellness Workshop. Got to tell you, starting September, we go to a whole different new format. Beginning of September, and the first show will be on September 5th, we go to 2 hours on Saturday, and that'll be 10 to 12, and then it's going to be repeated on Sunday, same slot, 10 to 12. So you'll have an opportunity on multiple occasions over the weekend to listen to our message here and stay in touch, whether that be live on our Saturday show or with a repeat on Sunday. Going to 4 hours is a bonus that I hope you enjoy, and we certainly will enjoy bringing it to you. Up and comings, what else we got going? Okay, activity-wise, I mentioned last week and I mentioned this week, we got microcurrent training for those who do microcurrent frequency specific or non-frequency specific. It's coming to Pittsburgh. If you have a microcurrent device and have been interested in learning more about it, the Avazia company will be in Pittsburgh doing a training all day on Sunday, August 23rd. This will be right on the tail end of a conference that's going to be held here, a national conference for all the massage therapists throughout the country. They start on the 19th and go to the 22nd of August, and we come in on the 23rd at the Westin Hotel. If you're interested, you can find out more by going to Medical Alternatives, plural, and medicalalternatives.com. And at that website, click on the training icon, and it'll let you register for the event. Now, we are the home of the Pittsburgh Eye Protocol. You'll be learning more and more about this, but if you're afflicted with various eye issues, namely the retinal ones, they're pretty serious, folks. Things like macular degeneration, or how about glaucoma, or how about diabetic retinopathy? Hey, how about even cataracts? If you've got these problems, you're pretty unhappy with your current vision and you want to change it, in some cases, there's nothing for you to do. But we can help restore that lost vision in a 3 to 4 day program that we offer here each and every month. We are the northern affiliate of Dr. Edward Condrat's Healing the Eye and Wellness Center. He's located now in Fort Myers, Florida. We are here in Pittsburgh, and each and every month we offer a new program to treat people afflicted and get their vision substantially, and I want to underline the word substantially, improved in that short period of time. Now, if you're interested in learning more, a couple places to go. Go to our website at the PittsburghEyeProtocol.com. That's PittsburghEyeProtocol.com. You can read all about us there. We even link on to Dr. Condrat's site in a number of cases to enable you to get more questions answered that you may have about this. But it's worthwhile and certainly worth your time to explore this if you have any of these eye issues. Or how about this? How about if a loved one or an acquaintance of yours has the eye problems and you're trying to figure out a way to help them? They love to be helped, except they don't listen to this show, they don't know about it, and you do. So make them aware of what's possible out there for them by making them familiar with the Pittsburgh Eye Protocol. And you can also call directly and talk to Sister Sarah. Sarah answers all questions that you may have. The number to do that, the direct line to the Pittsburgh Eye Protocol is 724-993-0500. That's 724-993-0500. And we'll be happy to get you directed to at least more information and maybe get you enrolled in an up-and-coming program. The August program will be August 24th through 27th, And if that's too soon for you, and it might just be on the cusp of impossible for us, but the September program, because we hold these once a month, is September 21st to September 24th, and we'll let it go with that. Of course, you can find out about more of all that we do by going to my website at djcmd.com, as well as calling us up at our office number, 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002. A couple items in the news before we take that first break. Number one, just approved, and it drives me crazy every time I hear this. It looks like the FDA has just approved the use of pretty strong narcotics, in particular oxycodone, for the use in children. Now, if we didn't have enough trouble already, to find out the FDA is going to do this is a mind blower to me. That particular drug alone is bumping off more people, young people, overdose people, completely out of context with any other known provocateur of premature death. And now to think that they're moving into the arena of the kids, well, we'll talk more about this up and coming, but it's a hot item. It's just off the presses this morning. And then the final thing, and we're going to do a show on it. I promise next week to talk about this. It's back to school time. And each and every time that it's kiddies back to school, we always think of vaccines as you return to school to be able to enroll in school. Well, let me just tell you, and we're going to leave it go at that for today, you do not have to vaccinate your children. If you choose not to vaccinate your children, there is a philosophical objection here in Western Pennsylvania, or the entire state for that matter. In fact, the majority of states have such a philosophical objection. I will make certain that I convey to those parents out there. Or how about this? What if you're a grandparent and you're pretty much concerned about potential harm to come to your grandchild, and maybe your daughter-in-law or your son-in-law aren't on the same page that you are? You want to bring them aboard to get them more knowledgeable on how to make this decision. I say you really need to make it a decision. The worst thing that could possibly happen is that you're in the waiting room. You know nothing more about vaccines other than to hear your voice, your name being mentioned, and the word next. That's a problem. Anyway, more on that up and coming, especially as we're returning back to school. Okay. We're going to take a short break, folks. When we come back, we're off to show number 3. We're taking baby steps to allow you to learn more about how to manage your health and become optimal. I'll return in a moment with part 3 on what supplements should I take. Be right back in a moment with that message.
Talk Radio 1320.
Hello, Dr. Dennis Courtney here. Do you or does someone that you know suffer from serious eye disease?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today on the Saturday morning, hoping that you are going to be sticking with us. We're happy to bring you a strong message each and every week on how it is that you can best optimize your health, not just maintain where you are. That's not the goal here. It's to get you to a place that maybe you were once before. Maybe it was decades ago. Maybe it wasn't that long ago. But you're stuck in a rut, and you feel yourself slipping. And you know that unless something drastically changes, there are going to be some scary times up ahead for you. Now, you're going to have to break out of the mold of the conventional medical management model, which is involving the use of drugs for symptoms that you get because your medical issues are so out of control, your medical condition actually talks to you in an unpleasant way. This unfortunately never resolves the medical issue that led to the need for the medication. The condition always continues to worsen. You continue to need more medicines, and this just becomes a vicious cycle. So here at the Weekend Wellness Workshop, we're going to be talking about how you can take charge and how it can be done, that you can optimize your health and get you back to that place that you were once before, and you just love to be at it again. I say I enjoy starting a new radio show with fresh listeners because although I've been doing radio shows for a long time, 20 years as a matter of fact, I grew and I learned over these 20 years in a slow fashion. And I keep saying, as the 20 years went by, I really didn't know what I didn't know. But now looking back, I know there's a place to start. That's why starting fresh with you folks has allowed us to move into, well, we've had 3 shows so far. The first show was answering the question, why should you have an alternative medicine doctor at all? And if you've missed that show, you'll want to go back to the archives and listen to the interviews I had on the first day with some important people to help you answer that question. On the second show, last week, we discussed the plan. There should be a plan of attack no matter what you're engaged in, and certainly there is an overall plan that we pursue. You heard me talk last week about the 3-legged approach, the 3-pronged approach, dealing with deficiencies, toxicities, and perfusion. And I would strongly recommend that if you missed that show, go on back and take a listen to it again by going to the archives at djcmd.com or head on to 1320wjs.com at the podcast section. Now this week, we move on. And we're going to answer a question that I got to tell you, for 20 years, it's the most frequently asked question by any patients seeing me in my office. Essentially, the question is, hey, doc, what supplements should I take? And I usually follow up by saying, doc, just tell me. Anything you tell me, I'm going to do it. But I need to know from you what it is to take, because I'm just dying to take charge of my health. And I know that these supplements would be really important to allow me to accomplish that goal. Now, I got to tell you that for doing this job about 20 years, for I think it's 17, it may be even longer of those years, I never answered that question. It almost seems crazy to reveal that, but it certainly was a surprise to people who were coming to consult with me over this time frame. They thought it was going to be an easy thing for me to answer for them. When they found out it wasn't so easy, and I explained why I really couldn't recommend any supplements because I was not willing to put my name and reputation behind that recommendation, I just wasn't happy with a whole lot of them. So whenever the question was asked, and believe you me, it was asked frequently, it led to a discussion that we're now going to have today, which isn't to give you the name, at least for the 17 years out of the 20 that I've been doing this job, wasn't to give you a name of a product. And if I wanted to, I could have easily sold any product if I didn't care what the product represented and that my name was being associated with it. Because I felt that I was not willing to do that, I had to answer the term in generalities. And so what I had was a discussion of the 6 items that every supplement program must contain. And I thought that it would be really appropriate for us today to take that walk with the 6 components of any supplement program. Now look, you could be the healthiest specimen that ever lived, or you could be extremely afflicted, but it all starts with these 6. This is your basic, this is your primer set, this is where your supplementation decisions must at least begin. And then of course, for every medical issue that you may have over and above a baseline state, there will more than likely be an additional supplement or mineral or herb or some procedure to help rescue it from it. But the basics are the same for everybody. Let's kick that off now and find out how I've answered the question, and in so doing, I think you'll come a long way for appreciating the downfall in this supplements and how they've been looked before. And then, of course, I'll always leave you with the exact answer that I use now, because for the last 3 years, I've been quite specific. So here we go. Number one, the first category that you must decide on when picking a supplemental regime is you got to get a good multivitamin. You know that. And they all seem to be advertised on the various forms of media. But be that as it may, I've never been happy with what's been out there. You see there's two categories of supplements that you can select as a multi. By far the most common are the synthetic vitamins and minerals. Synthetic. Hey, you look on the back of the label. If you think you need a degree in chemistry to read what the heck is in there, you've got a synthetic product. I know it's supposed to be the same molecule point for point. I know that. Nonetheless, I never liked the idea of synthetic. I've always been partial to being au naturel. And so you know what? There was another group of these multivitamins that met that category. They were the food-derived forms of vitamins and minerals. Now, although I was much more partial to them, there was a problem. You see, none of those are standardized. So when you turn around the back of the bottle on a whole food supplement, you have nothing written there. I mean, there are vegetables written there, but there's no idea of what's contained in them because, quite honestly, the foods that they're coming from this year are completely different in their quality and quantity of vitamins and minerals from what was grown last year. And so this standardization, or better said, lack of standardization, calls into question the use of even the much better whole food derived form of supplements for your multivitamin. So I told them, pick a company. Go with a good company. And there were quite a few out there. And however you decide to pick your multi, you pick it. Because I'm not telling you the name of a particular substance. I don't like any of them, but they got to have one. And so you figure out which is going to work best for you. That's category number one. Let's move on before our break here at the news on the number two. And those are the macro minerals. You know, you got to have a plentiful supply of some of the minerals, not all of them. You need all the minerals, but some have to be in large quantities. They are potassium, actually sodium, calcium, and magnesium. These four are the ones that better be well represented in your daily regime. Now, it's rare to find, although you potentially can actually find some of the multivitamins that you may select as excellent providers of these four macro minerals. But for the most part, you almost always need to take an additional set of supplements of the magnesium, potassium, sodium, and calcium to make certain that you've got the right amount of those every single day. And so macro minerals, although they're always contained in a good multi, never are in the sufficient enough quantity. And so you need category number two. And category number three, of course, are the macro minerals as I've described. A second supplement for sure. Now let's sneak one more in here before we take a break. At the bottom of the hour for the news. And category number three are the micro minerals. Micro minerals. Now, micro minerals are going to be, there's some 80 plus micro minerals. They have weird names like rubidium, cesium, francium. The list goes on and on and on. And you need minuscule amounts of them, but you must have all of them. You've got some enzyme system in your body. It's somewhere. And it's going to require a molecule or two of each and every one of these trace, sometimes called trace elements, micro minerals, and it almost, not almost, It always requires its own supplement. They are never contained in a good multi or a good source of macro minerals. So now we are at the third part, the third category, which are the micro minerals. So the first three, multivitamin, macro minerals, and micro minerals, round out the first half of the list of what you're supposed to take when it comes to the supplement program you got to put together. Now we're going to end up now breaking for a news break, and we're going to come back and talk about the remaining three categories. There are 6 of them, 6 categories of supplements every single person got to have in their selection of a good supplement program. And this is how I answer the question for 17 years of the 20 years I've been doing this job. But it held me in good stead, and it allowed me to educate patients to make decisions about their own supplements, and kept me out of feeling not good about recommending something that I could put the full force of my reputation behind. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about those remaining 3 categories. Interesting that they are, and how it is that you need to navigate through those particular areas of your supplement program. So, we'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.
Sean Hannity.
I'm telling you, I can't take it anymore.
Afternoons at 3.
Just amazing. Just nuts.
Anytime you're ready.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back here to the Weekend Wellness Workshop. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today. This Saturday morning, we're taking some baby steps and getting you comfortable with how to manage you and getting you optimal again. And one of those steps really has got to be considered supplementation. Should have mentioned, and maybe out of sequence, but certainly deserves a point of emphasis. You cannot possibly get the nutrients that you need to maintain your body in optimal state through your nutrition. You maybe could have done so, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, but you can't do it now. There are no more nutrients in the soil for you to be able to do it. You're going to have to supplement, and so therefore having a very good supplement program to allow you to do it is part and parcel to how you start walking down that path to get you optimal again. Today we're talking about how I answered this question for a lot of years. I said 17 of the 20 years I've been doing this job was never to answer the question directly, but instead instruct folks on how it is that they can select their own supplements to meet these 6 categories that had to be met. So we talked about the multivitamin, their choice. Number 2, the source of macro minerals, their choice. And then finally, always a separate micro mineral, sometimes called trace minerals, 80 plus of minerals that certain enzyme systems and metabolic systems in the body must have, or they have to do a workaround, and that workaround is never as efficient as having the actual mineral itself. So we now move on to the 4th category that must be included in each and everybody's supplement regime, and I may surprise you with this one. This is extremely important. Your daily intake of fat is by far one of the most important things that you can do and must do. And I don't know many of you that are thinking this way, okay? Let me try to lay the groundwork for why this is so doggone important. You see, you got some 70 trillion cells in your body. And at worst, they turn themselves over once every 90 days. You can take the gastric lining, the lining of your intestinal mucosa, by the way, it turns over every 3 days. There's a tremendous turnover in the body. The person sitting in the chair listening to me right now wasn't even in that chair 3 months ago. Think about it. Now, the cell membrane of these 70 trillion cells are comprised of fats. Only fats, folks. Fats are the most important component of this regeneration and reformulation process. And you better make sure you supply them to make them healthy fats instead of unhealthy fats. I know we've gone through our scare with fats. Low fat this, no fat that, avoid fats. It was a mistake to allow our federal government to get away with it for years. I think they've atoned and now realize how important fats are, but whether they do or not, you need to understand how important they are. Now, why is that cell membrane integrity so important? And it comes down to basically one thing. This cell, all 70 trillion of them have a nucleus. And I know we thought that all of the key function of the cell happened in the nucleus, when in fact the nucleus is nothing more than a repository of information, and it must be directed by something else to carry out the information and perform the functions that the cell can perform. So turns out that if the cell nucleus is the hard drive, then the keyboard happens to be the cell membrane. And if that cell membrane is not comprised right, it can't give the proper information to the nucleus, and consequently, the cell doesn't function properly. You need to be making certain that the fats that comprise that cell are coming to you in the adequate way that they need to come to you, and that cannot be done, cannot, underline the word, cannot be done by taking fish oil. I know about the fish oil craze. I help provoke the fish oil craze. I'm also the doc that for years now has gone on record by saying, and here's my quote, and I'll back it up some other time, which is, taking fish oil is hazardous to your health. That's right, folks. Taking fish oil is hazardous to your health. And you got to really take a blend of omega-6s and omega-3s, where fish oil is only omega-3s, and the wrong ones, the too sophisticated ones, the much too sophisticated ones for your body to handle. And we were all fed a fish story by the Scandinavians about 1970, where we were told, oh, we poor Americans with our diet of omega-6s, we need a very healthy dose of omega-3s, and what better than to get EPA and DHA from fish? Why did we hear that from the Scandinavians? Well, they only have one natural resource, folks. It's fish. And we swallowed that fish story, hook, line, and sinker. We now, however, know from 1993 through the work of an Israeli scientist, his name is Dr. Shlomo Yehuda. Yep, sirree, folks, absolutely an Israeli scientist, and he determined two things that we cherish to this very day. Number one is you must have a proper ratio of 4-to-1 of omega-6s to omega-3s. We didn't know that before. We found out in 1993 through his work that that was the right ratio. And then he went on to say what the name of the omega-6s and omega-3s are. In the case of omega-6s, he said this needs to be a category of fats referred to as linoleic acid, and the representatives are primrose oil and safflower oil. And I talked to many patients who'd never even heard of the two of those, or at least primrose oil certainly had none. And on the omega-3 side, no EPA and DHA, folks. It's too sophisticated. You need flax oil and chia oil, and they got to be blended in a ratio of 4-to-1. That's the difference. That's why your diet needs to be so varied, and that's why you better make certain that you're getting the right kinds of fats to allow that turnover. If it's every 90 days for whatever group of cells that is, then you're going to be able to lay down a healthy cell membrane in those cells. If it's the gastric mucosa that does it every 3 days, then you need to lay down a healthy cell membrane in the gastric lining to give the right directions to the nuclei of those cells. It's a story that went missed. It's not well understood, but once you understand it, does say that taking the right amount of fats. Of the three things you can put in your mouth, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, it is the fats that are by far the most important. Next category. The next category are the enzymes, folks. The enzymes. You must be able to digest the foods that you consume. It is true that each and every food has contained within it the very enzymes that are required for its proper digestion and assimilation. The problem is, if you don't eat raw vegetables, then you are going to destroy these very enzymes through the heat process. Actually, cooking the food destroys, first of all, denatures the proteins in there, and number two, it also completely deactivates the enzyme. So you're going to need to take an amylase for your carbohydrates, a protease for your proteins, and a lipase for your fats each and every meal to make certain that you're able to assimilate the very foods that you're eating. Otherwise, it's highly likely that you could be having a very nutritious diet but not be able to get the actual molecules of these foods into the bloodstream in the right quantity. Enzymes are a key component. The final category are the antioxidants. Antioxidants are a must, and you must, because you've heard about these reactive oxygen species. You heard about free radicals, have you not? These aren't some crazy people from the West Coast that carry picket signs. Free radicals are absolutely much more much more the onerous thing happening at every cell membrane. You got to put out the fires, folks, and antioxidants help to do it. Now, for years and years and years, my go-to antioxidant by far was vitamin C. It was the way that I advise patients to deal with the antioxidants that are going to be required to put out those fires caused by the reactive oxygen species that we've heard so much about. Turns out that the vitamin C of so many years actually is not my recommendation today. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's talk about vitamin C for those who want to use it, because I still think it's a fine antioxidant, no doubt about it. But that is the fact that vitamin C, 99.9% of the time, is derived from corn. I didn't know that. I had to learn that. And about almost all corn is all genetically modified. So where are you going with a genetically modified anything taking that into the body? It makes me mad that pharmaceutical companies think they can get away with this by going cheaply into corn-derived vitamin C, but that's what they do. You must have two things in mind before you select the vitamin C. Number one, it must be non-corn derived, and I better say that on the label, folks. And if nothing's mentioned there, that means it's corn derived and you got the wrong product. And number two, it needs to be fat soluble or liposomal, because vitamin C is water soluble. Very little of it gets absorbed, 3%. Think of that 1,000 milligram choker tablet of vitamin C, and on a good day, you can assimilate 30 milligrams of it. Not very good, huh? So look, vitamin C has a better way of being handled. There are two companies that make a liposomal form, and I'll talk about it when we return, and I will take a break right now. And when we get back, sort of wrap this all up and talk about, well, okay, what do you advise people now? 17 years, you told them there are these 6 categories. What are you doing now? We're going to be back in a moment to wrap it all up with your supplemental program as it should exist today, at least from my viewpoint. Be right back in a moment.
Pittsburgh's Talk Radio.
CW3.
Pittsburgh's Talk Radio, 1320.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, folks, welcome back. We're here in the gun lap portion of the show. We're coming around that home stretch, and we've rounded out our discussion today of what supplements should I take. And I've pretty much accomplished my first objective, which was to let you know that there are 6 categories that better be met when you select a good supplemental regime. And whether you're extremely healthy or extremely afflicted, it all starts with those 6. Now, for as long as I had to, could you imagine somebody asking this question and the wall charts coming down in, this 45 minutes, an hour went by where we went over point for point what needed to go into the selection process, and then I turned them loose on their own supplements. They did very, very well. Folks, things have changed considerably. And the change now is that I actually can give the names of specific products because they finally have come through. Some supplemental companies have finally come through with something that I can put my full reputation behind. So I tell you that if somebody asks me today on what to take, I tell them, well, you know those 6 categories that I told you about before? You know, the multi and the macro and the micro and the fats and the enzymes and the antioxidants. How about if I told you that every single one of those are found in one supplement and one supplement only? that the supplement that I'm talking about is completely organic, that the supplement I'm talking about is 100% assimilable, I think that that would be a recommendation worth hearing. And so I tell you now that what I recommend that my patients take, and that I take, and that my family takes, is a substance called F3. F3, and the reason why F3 is such a potent nutritional source for all 6 categories in all the right amounts every single day found in one product is that this particular supplement comes from algae. They aren't chemicals at all. They are natural, actually grown in hydroponic ponds in Siberia. They're the brainchild of a scientist by the name of Dr. Michael Kiryak, who was, in the time of the Soviet Union, actually awarded many awards because of the medical and veterinary situations that he resolved through developing these algae. There are 3 algae found within these products and this particular substance called F3. They are, number one, the number one nutritive algae of all. I think there's 50,000 species of algae, but the one that contains all the nutrients is something called spirulina, and spirulina is found in this product. It's found there because it's grown in Siberia, it's dried there, and then sent to Toronto, Canada, where it's put into capsule form. Spirulina is the number one nutrient, and when it's combined with the other 2 algae, number 2 is something called Haematococcus pluvialis. Sounds like a big word. It is a big word, but there is a unique carotenoid found in Haematococcus pluvialis, and that carotenoid is called astaxanthin. And you'll never forget, if you ever stumbled across the Haematococcus pluvialis growing in the wild, you would never forget it. And the reason why is that after you move through the brush and found the body of water that you were looking at, whether that's a lake, a pond, or a stream, it would be the color blood red. So I know this much. I've never come across the Haematococcus pluvialis in the wild because I've never seen a blood red body of water. These are grown in particular at a company called Nutrex in Hawaii at the Kona Coast, and they are blood red. But that's conferred, the color red is conferred onto that particular algae by the name of a carotenoid called astaxanthin. It's the same material that causes salmon meat to be red, as well as flamingos, which aren't pink when they're born, to turn pink because they eat that particular carotenoid. Anyway, that's the second of the 2 algae, of the 3 algae. The third one is another algae called Donionella salina, which is also widely selected. Now look, these 3 algae are put into this product called F3. We do carry the product, so if you're interested in purchasing it, you can give us a call at 724-942-3002. But I tell you that every bit of all the multivitamins that you need, all of the macro minerals that you need, all of the trace minerals that you need, and all the fats, omega-6s and omega-3s, as well as that antioxidant called astaxanthin, which is the new antioxidant of choice, are all found in their maximum quantities. All you need to take is 1 product a day. I found that I could put my name and my reputation on the product, and we've been carrying it ever since. Very tough to find. There are a couple health food stores that may carry it. The name of the company to find out more about it is called BioAge, and you can go to find out more about their product at bioage.com, or you can call to order it from our office. We send it out at 724-942-3002. Now, I should say that when I recommend a supplement program now, I include 3 products. Yes, the first one is F3. But because the fats are not in a 4-to-1 ratio, which we found from Shlomo Yehuda that they should be, I recommend the second product. There you see is one company that actually mixes up the primrose oil and the safflower and the chia and the flax and then sends it out to be analyzed to make sure it's in a 4-to-1 ratio. The name of the company is called Body Bio. The name of the product, oddly enough, is called 4-to-1 Oil, and that would be my second recommendation to make certain that you're getting the 4-to-1 ratio that you deserve. The final, of course, is the antioxidant. Remember, my number 6 category was an antioxidant. It used to be vitamin C. It's no longer my antioxidant of choice. It is now astaxanthin. Why, do you say, should we switched and I switched to astaxanthin? Well, first I have to admit a little bit of ignorance. I had this brought to my attention in April of 2013. I was embarrassed. I had never heard of it. And so I revealed my embarrassment, and I atoned for that, even to this very moment. But once I've learned about it, I certainly can see the error in my ways. And there's a product made by Nutrex Hawaii called astaxanthin. There's 12 milligrams capsules where they harvest this from the Kona coast of Hawaii. They extract it, they concentrate it, they purify it, and are able to sell it to us. One 12 milligram capsule a day does two things. One, it has the antioxidant equivalent of, get a load of this, 72,000 milligrams of vitamin C, which you couldn't take on your best day. And it's found in one capsule. And the half-life is 23 hours, meaning that tomorrow's dose, when you take it, still half today's dose is still working. Those are my 3, folks. These are my recommendations. You take F3, you take 4-to-1 oil, and you take astaxanthin. And in terms of covering all bases, you need take nothing else. I can tell you that financially you're in a much better place to be able to purchase these 3 monthly than some of the regimes I've seen in my 20-year history. So the question being asked as frequently as it has now been answered, and I believe in a correct way. I discussed the categories to let you know what should go into a daily regime, but to make that very simple, to find out that one product really does it all, and when assisted by 2 others, puts you to an optimal way of supplementing every day that's economically reasonable. The scary person to me, I think I alluded to him last week, was the guy when my office door swings open. Now he's standing there, and he's got 2 shopping bags in his hands. Each hand is full. And every one of those shopping bags is full to the brim with supplements. And I look at him with incredulity, saying to myself, the poor man just doesn't get it. It isn't the amount of supplements, it's the quality of supplements. And if you choose right, those 2 bags of shopping bags of supplements can be whittled down to pretty much a very basic level of supplementation. And for that reason, it's an easy enough topic to discuss now, and I'm glad we talked about it in our 3rd show. So we're laying down that groundwork for you to be able to be a much better patient and to take charge of your own health and do it in an optimal way and get you to optimal health in the up-and-coming future. Now, we'll be continuing on with our next week's show, talking about a couple of items. One, we're getting the hormone issue. We're going to talk about it. And I promise to talk about vaccines, because we're at that critical point where the kiddies are going back to school, and all sorts of questions regarding should they be vaccinated or not need to be answered. The way I'll leave it with you today is this. In the state of Pennsylvania, you need not vaccinate and cannot be held out of any school. You have a right to be to choose philosophically what you want for your children, and you're protected with that right in the state of Pennsylvania. We'll talk more about that next week. So look, enjoyed spending the time with you today. Want you to go on out and hey, find out more about F3, 4-to-1 oil, and astaxanthin. Maybe it will change what you're doing. By the way, never get rid of any supplements. Keep on taking the supplements until they're all gone, and then move to a new way of doing things. I think a much better way, a much more economic way. Look, enjoyed spending time with you. Look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying long for the Weekend Wellness Workshop. Bye now.